Smile 2 was directed, written and co-produced by Parker Finn, who also brought us its predecessor that made over $200 million on the shy amount of just 17 million. That's 5 trillion Vietnamese dongs or 2 million V-Bucks, which means that Fortnite has a stronger currency than the entire country of Vietnam. Just a small thought to think about while questioning the meaning of life. Smile was actually Finn's cinematic film debut, as he did make 2 short films at the Chapman University Dutch College of Film and Media Arts, including Laura Hasn't Slept, which Smile was actually meant to be a sequel to. After the unexpected success of said sequel, the previous sequel was followed up by another sequel. This newer sequel, which had been given the original name of Smile 2, is what we'll be talking about today. We follow Skye Riley, your daily stereotypical pop star, with Naomi Scott as the leading actress. Now most of you will probably know Naomi Scott as Jasmine from the live-action Aladdin movie, but did you know that she worked on something much cooler?
Go, go, Power Rangers!
Who cares about a well-written emotional rollercoaster where you can watch the worst CGI to ever exist in the form of a giant combined super robot fighting against crime? That movie got a 5.9 on IMDb, by the way. It's gotta be rigged. For me it's a 10 out of 10, I would definitely recommend it. What is very impressive about her character is that you actually believe she is a singer. She has multiple songs displayed in the movie and all of them sound like your typical generic pop song that gets continuously overplayed on the local radio station. Also she's on Spotify, so that's cool. We start out with the policeman of the previous movie who is still cursed by the Smile entity as he attempts to turn the parasite over to some Russian mob guy because why not? But he does this in such an unnecessary overcomplicated way that he accidentally kills him, leaving Lewis who witnessed it all to his fate when the policeman proceeds to get Princess Diana by a passing car. So we meet Skye and her epic looking scar she got a year ago in a car accident, which will definitely not serve as a plot device later on. At the time of the accident, Skye was not just a world famous pop star but also a full-time crackhead, though she claims to have overcome this flaw in an interview, having completely rediscovered herself with a brand new lesbian looking haircut, when she also announces being back from being away with her upcoming world tour. Skye might not be a junk anymore, but she is still craving that enchanted acetaminophen as she sets up a meeting with her dealer pal Lewis, who responds to her text message like my dad replies when I text him anything. When the door opens, we see Lewis, who inherited the curse at the start of the movie, not looking too well. Lewis leaves the room to use his enchanting table while Skye waits for his return. When Lewis does return, he apparently had a hidden crush on Skye all along as he falls for her and goes into cardiac arrest in hope of her trying to reanimate him. When Lewis realizes he's not getting any, he wakes up, has a friendly smile at her, realizes all girls are the same and proceeds to hit the gym. She gets a mysterious message from an unknown number asking her if she had been at Lewis's apartment, but like the true independent Alpha Sigma slaying queen Skye is, she leaves him on red. The day after, Skye has a scheduled meet and greet with her fans. At this scheduled meet and greet, she signs the shirt of this sweet looking young lady as she walks off looking like she's going to torture some of her stuffed animals. There's also someone who is clearly obsessed with generic pop music and looks more deep fried than KFC's chicken. Back in her room, Skye calls a friend of hers called Gemma, who she hasn't seen or talked to in over a year. At first Gemma didn't answer, but immediately calls Skye back and tells her she will be there in 45 minutes. Before Gemma gets to the apartment, Skye sees the creepy deep fried dude from before, this time waving his bare ding dong around, ready to charge right at her. Skye is not having any of that, like most people wouldn't, and tries to walk out on him. But when she opens the door, she gets jumpscared by Gemma, who just arrived, discovering that the man and his gentleman sausage were nothing more than the friends we made along the way. Skye agreed to inspire some young and upcoming artists, but during her presentation the autocue stops autocuing, resulting in a very awkward jab session. Then Skye sees her dead boyfriend with a humongous smile on his face. Skye proceeds to do the reasonable thing and WWE super slams an old lady off the stage. Skye finally realizes that she might be going insane and agrees to meet the unknown number person who claims he can help her with her issues. When meeting him, we find out that his name is Morris and that he wants to help her because he lost his brother to the Smile entity. He claims that the entity will perish if Skye dies and gets reanimated. I'm not sure how a Fortnite emote will help him, but I'm curious to see where it goes. Morris conveniently knows the perfect way to reanimate one's heart in the right conditions to make this work. Skye rightfully creeps the f*** out and leaves Morris. At home, Skye proceeds to partake in an activity called life as she finds herself in a stare down with some of her overjoyed dancers. The dancers show her a new dance move called Slam Your Head Into a Table as Skye gets her head slammed into a table. Yeah, that happens sometimes. Skye wakes up in a private medical clinic with her mom by her side as she proceeds to do what any normal person would do when their daughter just fainted and stabs herself in the throat. And eye. And other areas. Yeah, don't do that. We find out it was actually Skye having one of her hallucinations who stabbed her mom, and with her mother bleeding out on the hospital carpet, the caring daughter Skye is, she makes a break for it. Looking like she's on the heaviest period to ever exist, she gets spotted by the gay comic relief guy and some other NPC looking chumps. Skye distracts a guard and steals his gun so she can walk out without any more trouble. Except she stands on some green glass laying on the ground, probably Heineken since that stuff is absolutely disgusting and I would throw it against the pavement any chance I got as well. Skye meets Gemma, who offers to drive her to Morris to help her get rid of the curse. Unfortunately for Skye, this is the moment she finds out Gemma has been a hallucination all along and is in fact not the one driving. The entity tries to take over Skye, but she manages to take control because she believes in herself and belief is more powerful than a Kalashnikov. Apparently Morris is holding up in a Pizza Hut as he takes Skye into a freezer, claiming that it's necessary for her heart rate to drop. Also, the freezer door has to be blocked by a block of concrete because if the door closes, it cannot be opened. Which will definitely not serve as a plot device later on. Morris is preparing Skye for the reanimation, but decides to, like my drunk friend at 3 AM, go on a side quest and never returns. Meanwhile, Skye tries to fight off the entity as she is trapped by the previous mentioned plot device and tries getting to the needle from which Morris said it would stop her heart. And without any witnesses, therefore kill the entity. The needle and everything else turns out to have been a hallucination all along, and Skye kills herself in front of her audience by slamming her microphone into her right eye and infecting them all with the smile parasite. Also, before she kills herself, she has one final hallucination of her scar opening up, but we're not going to talk about that because it's disgusting and it looks terrible. IMDb gave the movie a 7.2 with lots of loving reviews. Rotten Tomatoes falls in line as it got 85% from critics and 81% from the audience, which are great numbers especially for a horror sequel as they usually do not perform all that well. Smile 2 is not terrifying per se, but it keeps up the tension throughout the entire movie with lots of creative scenes but still fairly predictable. But still fairly predictable jump scares that rely on sound to get a reaction from the viewer, which only works well in the cinema. Before I went to see the movie, I saw some people on the socials saying how Smile 2 changed them as a person, that it's the most horrifying movie they've ever seen and it traumatized them. Though the only traumatizing thing was the terrible CGI made smiling ballsack at the end. Now I think the people who say these kind of things are just not that into horror movies, but since it's a fairly mainstream movie that came out around Halloween, went to see it anyway. Of course there's no real way for me to prove this, except for when you look at the rest of their profile where they post get ready with me's and random TikTok dances. But the real reason I think this is because I went to see the movie with some friends of mine from which only one other friend was into horror movies, and me and that friend were just having a good time, more laughing at the movie than actually getting scared, especially at the end. But every time I looked over, the others were absolutely terrified by every other minor thing happening. Hands in front of their eyes and hiding under the shirts. One of them couldn't stop whisper screaming how mental he thought the movie was.
Oh my god, this is mental, bro. This is mental. I can't do this anymore. What the f?
And there was also a guy playing Clash of Clans, which I thought was comedy gold. But dude, chill, it's not that deep. Anyway, before I rewatched the movie at home, I would have probably rated the same IMDb did, but after the rewatch, my personal rating has slightly dropped. Considering everything discussed before, I would rate Smile 2 a 6.5 out of 10. Of course, my rating is not binding and everyone is entitled to their own opinion. This review is just meant for laughs and a way for me to express my thoughts. I definitely recommend watching this if you're a horror fan like me, especially in the cinema since it adds a lot to the experience, even though it's already out of the cinemas, but don't mind that. So go see it if you haven't already and let me know what you think.